Hi, everyone. This is Jeff Clark of the Paydirt Prospector here in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia at the Metals Investor Forum. And here with me today is Dennis Higgs of Austin Gold, a company that you may not have heard of, but I've discovered and I'm pretty excited about. Dennis, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Jeff, for inviting me.
Great. So we always start with the people. That's the most important thing when we look at any investment, especially in the junior mining sector. Dennis, tell us a little bit about your background, especially some of the successes you and your team have had.
Okay, I'll discuss the team first. We've got 7 directors. All of us have been, our 7 directors have been involved in the building of $3 billion companies.
Yes.
All of them in the resource sector. Examples, Predum Resources, our team was involved in the building of that company, and it was taken over by Newcrest for $2.8 billion. Another one, Silver Standard, which is now called SSR Mining. And a couple of us are still directors of Energy Fuels. So those are the companies we've built in the past, all of them billion-dollar market caps. My own background, I actually took my first company public back in 1985.
Wow,
and,
you're dating yourself.
I shouldn't have told you that. I've built several companies. 4 of my companies have been subject to takeover bids. Most recently was Your Honor's Energy, was taken over by Energy Fuels. So that's a little bit about my background. That was, and Energy Fuels now is the largest uranium producer in the United States. And at the time I started, my uranium company, before it was acquired by Energy Fuels, was just an idea. So from an idea to now the largest uranium producer in the U.S.
Excellent. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Now you have 3 projects. You have, and 2 look pretty good right now. You have the one in Oregon and one in Nevada. Start with Oregon, though.
Sure.
Tell us about that project. What you're finding so far with the drill success.
Sure. So the project in Oregon is called Stockade Mountain. It's in southeastern Oregon, and it's a classic textbook large gold and silver bearing epithermal vein system. And it's been drilled by 3 major mining companies in the past. Back in the 80s and 90s. And what they were looking for was an open pit type deposit. So their drilling was all fairly shallow. I think 430 feet is the deepest hole. And they never took any effort whatsoever to drill deeper to see, let me explain. What they found was what's called a stockwork system.
Yeah.
Like, imagine a stockwork system is like a cracked windshield. And all those cracks carry gold. So that's what they found at the surface. And what we're looking for is the feeder system that fed that stockwork. Yes. And typically in these types of systems, those feeder systems can be very rich and quite large. So we drilled 3 holes earlier, most recently, and the results were upwards of 8 and 9 grams gold over 2.5 to 4 feet. But we're still in a stockwork system. So if we're getting those kind of grades in the stockwork, we're hoping to find the feeder system that's going to be hopefully much richer than that.
Now, some people hear Oregon and think, is there going to be a permitting problem there? So tell us about that. There's not actually a lot of NIMBY right there. Is that
not where we are? We're right the southeast corner of Oregon. But you're right. So I mentioned 3 major companies had drilled the project in the past. And the reason why they walked away was because in the late 80s, 90s, Oregon decided they were no longer going to allow open pit mining. And they were looking for open pits. So they said, you know what?
Forget it.
But here we are 25 years later, 30 years later. And there's a neighbor of ours, Paramount. They've got a resource there, or an ore body that they are permitting, and they're working their way through the permitting process, and it's been successful so far. So we're expecting that they've paved the way, and I think there shouldn't be any problem. We don't expect any problem for underground operations in Oregon.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, the project I'm personally excited about
Me too.
is the one in Nevada. And boy, that map showing the location of where this is at.
Yes.
And some of the historical data that you have. So tell us about the Nevada project.
Sure. So this project is called Lone Mountain. It's in an area of Nevada, north central Nevada, which is one of the richest gold districts in the world. I think in that area, about 160 million ounces of gold have been mined right in that specific area. Just east of our project, there was the Carlin Trend. And the Carlin Trend is the largest gold field in North America. There's 40 gold deposits, over 40 gold deposits have been discovered along the Carlin Trend, and that's about 20 miles east of us. And all those deposits were discovered in what's called a lower plate window. A description for a lower plate window is you have, in this part of Nevada, the upper plate rocks sitting on top of the lower plate rocks. That's logical enough. But through millions of years of weathering and erosion, it'll carve a hole through the upper plate rocks and you get exposure to those lower plate rocks. And it's the lower plate rocks that host these large Carlin-type gold deposits. So all the gold deposits in the Carlin Trend have been discovered in or very near these lower plate windows. And then you've got north of us, about 15 miles, you have the Jerritt Canyon Trend. And again, you've got about 9 million ounces have been mined so far at Jerritt Canyon. And all those deposits are right there again in lower plate windows. So now we come to our Lone Mountain Project. We have 13 square mile lower plate window. It's been owned by one family for 2 generations, 60 years. There is actually a small past producing mine on it, but it's been grossly underexplored for that period. And because it's been owned by one family for that period. So we have a lower plate window. We have 22 square miles of property. We could fit a very large portion of the Carlin Trend on our property area. So
that's amazing.
So we're looking for the potential there of an entire district. And we're pretty excited about it.
Now, Bob Hatch here, is he VP Exploration?
VP Exploration.
So he got access, you all got access to the shed that contained all this historical data that's not been digitized. But Bob went through all this data. What did he find?
So he's very excited about it. Bob Hatch, VPX, he went through all the data. And when he took a look back, because other companies took a look at the project, they did a little bit of work along the way. Even Newmont was on the property going back to the 1960s. He took a step back and looked at all this data. You know, he's rolling out maps, and he got very excited. We've got a very strong geochem anomaly, soil sampling anomaly in certain areas that have never been tested, drill tested, or just a couple of holes or something like that. So this property has not been properly tested. We're very excited about what we see at Lone Mountain.
That's great.
Yeah.
And when do you think you might be drilling that? I know some decisions have to be made yet, but how big of a program are we looking at, and when might you be undertaking a drill program?
Sure. We're hoping to drill later this year. We're in May of 2024. What we'd like to do is do a very detailed soil sampling program, probably 2,000 or more samples over a certain area of the project. Do stream sediment sampling, rock geochem, and geologic mapping. And we've already done a gravity survey. So, and everything's coming together right now. So we want to do all those surface things before we drill.
Right.
So we are hoping to drill later this year.
Zero in on the target.
You want to zero in on the targets, and you want to hopefully hit as soon as you can.
Right.
If we're going to hit something there, we'd like to find it sooner rather than later.
Do you have an idea how big of a program you're looking at, or meters, or not yet?
We do. We've got a budget for it. It's a significant budget. Actually, off the top of my head, I believe it's between 10 and 15 holes.
Okay.
And a significant budget. We're well funded. We've got over US $8 million in our treasury. So we have enough money to go out and do our exploration programs that we plan.
And you only have, this is amazing to me, 13.4 million shares outstanding as we talk today.
Yes.
That's amazing.
It's wonderful, and management owns half of that, just a little bit over half. So management and directors and officers and so on, we own about 50% of the company ourselves. Yeah. So we're highly motivated to create the success of this company.
Yes, you are. And boy, one discovery with that low market cap, boy, that could really send the stock.
I would love to give you a number. I say what I would like to see it, but
okay.
Those are dreams, and
those are forward-looking statements.
Forward-looking statements. I probably can't say that.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, Dennis, this has been great. Thanks for joining me here. I'm Jeff Clark at the Metals Investor Forum in Vancouver. Thanks for watching.